Welcome to What's the Score, a series solely dedicated to the support of Central Florida's small business and entrepreneurs. Donated as a community service by AM 660 The Answer and Salem Communications. Now, here's Christopher Hart and Rich Jaeckle.
Well, hello, and welcome again to What's the Score, the show designed to help you come up with that winning combination for your business. I am Christopher Hart of the American Adversaries Radio Show, joined in studio today once again by my colleague and co-host Rich Jaeckle of Score.
Hello, Christopher the Hart.
I always wonder how you're going to say that.
Yes, I do too.
All right. And we got another Score counselor with us today. And this time she knows she's on the show because she's actually in the studio with us. Yeah, we got a lot of compliments on last week's show. But in the studio with us today is one of your colleagues. Rich, tell us who she is.
The very pleasant young lady named Linda Shaheen. And, you know, you and I have been babbling about Pitch Fest all this time, so we thought we'd talk to
somebody who actually knows something about it.
Yeah, I mean, we can make up stuff and they believe us, but this one actually knows because she's the executive director of Pitch Fest.
And if you folks have never heard the show before and you don't know what we're talking about with Pitch Fest, just stick around because it's part of Biz Fest, which we will be telling you all about shortly here. Once again, though, Score is a great organization. It's a mentorship program just stocked full of great folks over there who have experience from all walks of business and life, and they are there to help you in your business endeavor. And the best part is, once again, Rich, it's
free, the F word. There we go again.
That four-letter F word.
Yep.
The counseling services or the mentoring services, they're free over there. They also offer seminars, and there are a great number of activities that they get involved in. The best way to find out about Score is to either go over there. It's located in the National Entrepreneur Center, which is in the Fashion Square Mall between Sears and J.C. Penney, or you can go online and visit them at scoreorlando.org. That's scoreorlando.org. And by the way, the Entrepreneur Center is open 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. Score is just one of the great groups involved there. So just if you're over in that neck of the woods, maybe shopping at the Fashion Square, stop in and see the folks at Score. Got a lot of great little that you guys give away over there too, don't you, Rich?
And it's all for you. I mean, it's all
for me.
Not you, but you should go do it. It's all for small businesses, and Christopher, you are a small business, right?
Yeah.
Well, talk a little bit about your small business needs and how you could use the Entrepreneur Center. In retrospect.
Had I known, I'd have been over there when I first formed my business to make sure I was forming the right business entity in terms of sole proprietorship, a corporation, or the LLC or the S or whatever. And then also, of course, making sure all the legal things, dots and I's and T's, dots and crossed. And finally, some marketing advice. You know, every person could use some marketing advice if you're just starting out in business. I mean, coming up with the idea for the product or services, that's just half the battle.
The idea?
Getting people to buy it from you, that's the other half of the battle. So certainly it could have saved me, I would imagine, a great deal of time and money.
And been free to come in and see a marketing counselor.
That's right. And so, folks, don't be like me and not know what's going on. That's one reason why we do this show, is to get the awareness of Score out into the community. So if you're not into business or this is not for you, tell your friends and family who are about this show and about Score. Make sure that they don't make the same mistake as me and not just.
Well, fortunately,
I guess it wasn't really a mistake.
It was not a mistake.
Yeah, it wasn't a mistake. Just didn't know it was there.
No, you learned the lessons firsthand instead of getting taught the lessons.
That's right. By the way, you can call them over there if you want to make an appointment, maybe to speak with one of the counselors, or just begin the counseling process as we did last week on the show. Cole called Lucy over there.
Wasn't that fun?
It was.
Oh, my God.
I say, our audience enjoyed it. So 407-420-4844 is the number at Score at the Entrepreneur Center, for Score at the Entrepreneur Center, 407-420-4844. And if you want to make an appointment with Rich, that's the phone number to call. And please do take advantage of SCORE nonetheless.
Richard, Linda's a marketing exec.
Absolutely. I'm one of the marketing counselors. So
It's okay. Well, I wanted to kind of work up to that and see. But once again, folks, you are listening to What's the Score. Rich, you said you had something you wanted to say.
I have a rant. Are you ready for this?
I am. I'm ready for your rant.
Okay, but usually, you lean back in your chair and take your earphones off.
And start rolling my eyes.
There you go. So, I was coming to the radio show last week, and, they have these people with the signs under the overpasses and stuff. Can you spare a dime, brother? Or, you got money for food,
yes.
etc. Okay.
Yeah.
You got the picture. So I stop, I give the person $1, and this is in Sanford. And so a week later, on Sunday, I go into my favorite pub to have a beer and watch, at that time, some of the games. And there is this gentleman, along with his wife and children, sitting at the bar, drinking a beer and eating chicken wings.
$1 goes a long way, doesn't
Wait a minute with this picture. Now, is this free enterprise and capitalism at its finest or worst?
I don't know if you can
This is a question for you two.
Well, do you want to hazard a guess there? I mean, an answer there, Linda?
well, one thing I can say is at least he was eating food and not just drinking
Beer
well,
with his whole family on my buck.
Well, he must be pretty smart if he can make a buck go that far, right?
Well, he wasn't very smart coming into my tavern.
Yeah, I guess you forgot.
This is a true story.
I've heard
What
similar.
do you think about
I've
this
heard
stuff?
similar stories. I believe John Stossel on Fox has done similar exposés. I don't think it has anything to do with capitalism. I mean, certainly you.
What do you mean? He's making a buck and then he's spending it at another place,
Well, you
another
get this
enterprise.
You're focusing on the currency. What I'm focusing on is the behavior. Basically, beggars exist in all societies, and that's what you're talking about here. Now, the question for why he's out there begging is it a legitimate reason to be begging or illegitimate reason to be begging? In my opinion, this was an illegitimate reason to be begging.
Okay, isn't the fundamental effort when you give these people $1 is that you feel sorry for them and want to help them out?
Well, yes.
I don't want to help him eat chicken wings in my bar.
Well, see, this is the problem with someone like that, is someone who is truly in need. May come up to you the next time, and you're going to look at them and go, yeah, right. You're going to just take and go down to the old saloon.
Exactly.
And they may be the one who's actually in need. So what that person is doing is illegitimate, I would call it, from a number of perspectives. The scripture tells us, when someone asks you for food, not to deny it to them. So, you're just trying to do the right thing. And for someone to take advantage of you like that, I would not consider that to be ideal behavior.
What about the other 100 people that gave him a buck and, he was...
Yeah, well,
never mind. That's the whole thing is this legitimate capitalism?
No, that's what I'm saying. It has nothing to do with capitalism. I mean, this happens in socialism. It happens in communism. It happens in dictatorships.
I beg to differ with you there, my friend.
Do you know what I would call it? I would call it creativity. I mean,
God, there's a marketing person right there. Right there is a marketing
figured
answer.
Out how to earn the money, and I would say more power to him.
Well, if he can talk you out of $1,
I would say that's the end of your interview.
I've done worse than that. I gave a lady at Target that claimed she was in distress.
A Target?
At Target, in the parking lot. I would have
She gave to someone at Target.
A lady came
at
up
Target.
to me in the Target parking lot. I was coming out of my car, and I don't normally do this, but for some reason or other, I guess I was feeling extremely generous, and she kind of sold me a bill of goods and said that she was in distress, her car broke down, and she needed $10 to call somebody, get some help or something. And I gave it to her. And I consider myself a good-hearted person.
A good deed doer.
I do.
Okay.
I try to help anybody that needs it. But as I was walking into the Target store, I basically said to myself, Linda, why did you do that? Because I knew she must have been hitting everybody up. And you're lucky you only got away for $1. I mean, I gave her $10.
No, you're unlucky that you gave her $10.
Well,
you could have given her $1.
But I said, you know what? That's okay. My intentions were good, and I'm a good person.
Well,
so
the road to hell is paved by
that's
good
what I was just
intentions.
getting ready to say. It is totally uncapitalistic, in my opinion, what this person is doing. Because if they wanted to practice capitalism, they'd be out there scratching away, making a living.
They are.
They'd be working. No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
No,
they're right
Rich,
on a street corner.
They are not providing a product or service.
Geez.
Okay? In capitalism, you have supply and demand. You don't have just one or the other. You don't just have demand.
Okay.
That's what that is. That's an example of simply one side of the equation, demand. They're coming to you essentially demanding money and playing on your good nature in order to get you to come off of it.
Okay, why do I give them $1?
They are not, because you are a sucker.
No, because it's emotional fulfillment.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And he knows that.
That's
why
service.
you are a sucker, because he knew that going in. He knew he was playing on your emotion. That's why they do this. That's why they get the little signs and the forlorn. Look, there are plenty of places in town where they can get help. There is the rescue mission downtown. There are church organizations. There are family organizations. There is no one in this society that has to go needing or wanting or begging. It's just a sign of
easy way out.
Laziness.
There you go.
All right. So all you do when you give them like that, and once again, it's tough, because out there somewhere, there's probably someone who is, caught in that
really
situation
needy.
like she was talking about, right?
Yeah, really
but
needy.
The problem is they are fewer and fewer and farther in between, and the rest of them are just rascals out for an easy buck.
Right.
Right. And that's why I'm saying it's totally uncapitalistic, because it is basically the nanny state showing itself, where we're all supposed to take care of everyone else. No, in capitalism, you do your darndest to take care of yourself, and then everyone else is fine.
And how do we take care of ourselves? By starting new businesses.
Exactly, which we're going to talk about. Which we're going to talk about when we come back from the break. See what you've done now?
Yeah, one nice thing about egotists, they don't talk about other people.
All right. Well, we're going to talk to Linda Shaheen when we come back about BizFest. And if you have any comments about that topic, send them to us at score@nationalec.org. I'd love to hear what you think. Okay, as a matter of fact, if you have any suggestions or questions or tips about the show, send them to us at score@nationalec.org. We'll be right back with more of What's the Score? Okay, welcome back to What's the Score, the show designed to help you come up with that winning combination and avoid scams, scandals, and otherwise. People out there waiting to take advantage of you.
You're going to start it up again. All right, all you people out there, listen up. We're ethical. That's why we give you the buck.
There you go. Okay, anyway, we have a lot to talk about with Linda Shaheen today. And Linda, once again, is a counselor at SCORE. So first of all, I'd like to find out how you got involved with SCORE. What was your background that led you to SCORE?
Well, it's really interesting because my background was very different than what SCORE actually offers. I come from a corporate background. I am from Detroit. Mm-hmm. I spent 32 years with Ford Motor Company. So I'm all automotive.
What a surprise.
Yeah,
Detroit.
Yeah.
Down here we say Ford.
Yeah, Ford. No.
It's a repair day.
But, I mean, when you grow up in Detroit, that's all you know is the automotive. And I still bleed blue blood. Okay, that's what we say. So my background is sales and marketing, as Rich mentioned. Okay, and...
But this was at the corporate level.
That's at the corporate level.
Not in a dealership.
No. Well, I did work with dealers. Okay,
right.
because...
But you weren't on the sales floor or a sales manager?
No, strictly with the automotive manufacturer, Ford Motor Company.
Right.
Thank goodness, I was going to watch my wallet there.
But I did work with Ford and Lincoln Mercury dealers. Well, we don't have Mercury anymore, but Lincoln dealers. And so I retired in 2002 and have been coming to Central Florida for years. My family's vacationed here. They've owned homes here. So I was very familiar with Central Florida. When I got here, I'm newly retired. Now, I'm not fully retired. I'm a part-time instructor for the University of Phoenix also.
Okay.
But I was looking for something to do because I was young when I retired. It was kind of nice because with Ford...
Hey, you were the same age as me, for crying.
Well, okay, with the automotive industry, you can retire after 30 years. So I was relatively young, and of course, I wasn't ready for the rocking chair just yet.
Now, real quickly, let me ask you this. Were you a unionized worker?
No.
Okay.
I was in management. Okay. And I was salaried, so only it was the hourly workers that were unionized. Okay. So I was looking for something to do, so I happened to see a little ad in the paper about SCORE. I knew nothing about SCORE. Absolutely nothing. I just saw this little blurb in the paper, and it said looking for business executives or business owners. Well, of course, I didn't fit in as a business owner, but I had business experience, obviously. So I made a phone call, and they asked me to come in and went through the interview process and the training and all of that. But it opened up a whole new world for me because I was not familiar with small business. I mean, other than dealerships, and dealerships aren't really small. You know, we look at the size of the dealerships here in Metro Orlando, and they're almost big corporations.
Right.
But so it was just a whole different world for me. I have learned so much. And the nicest thing, or the most rewarding thing I should say about SCORE, is that you meet so many people with such creative and innovative ideas. I mean, I never realized that there were that many people out there.
Entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and this is probably a little bit of a segue into Pitch Fest, but I see, obviously, we see all the entries because this is the second year I've done it. And it's just so much fun to read the applications and the ideas that some of these people come up with.
Before you get into that, I have a question for you.
Okay.
How were you able to apply your trade to the SCORE clients?
Well, again, sales and marketing. Marketing is marketing. It doesn't really matter the size of the business.
That,
well, it's because the principles of marketing, and I teach marketing.
Is that what you teach at the University of Phoenix?
Yeah, well, I'm not teaching it now, but I did for several years. I taught marketing. I'm more into some of the other business courses right now, or a lot of the general study courses. But the principles of marketing apply to any size business, okay? I mean, you have a business idea. You have to look at the steps to marketing. You have to determine who your target market is. You have to determine who your competition is. So that applies to any size business. Now, quite frankly, I'm almost specialized with SCORE because I mostly see anybody that needs marketing help. Okay.
Which is just about everybody.
Well,
right?
just about everybody, but other people, I mean, I'm not as attuned to
business plans.
Yeah, business, because I've never owned my own business.
Okay.
So, and that was my hesitancy in going with SCORE. I explained that to them. I said, I don't have any real small business experience. They said, we don't care. We said, you've got marketing experience, you've got sales experience, and these people, a lot of these people that come to see us need this kind of help. So that's how I kind of fit in with SCORE. And in the meantime, I've been with them 12 years. So that's been a while.
That's going to be my next question.
Yeah, 12 years. And I have learned so much from, entrepreneurs in SCORE, other mentors who have actually owned their own business.
Yeah.
So it's really opened up, as I said, opened up a different world to me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
she's learned a lot from me.
Yeah, she looks a whole lot better after her 12 years of SCORE than you do, Rich. They must be working you like an army mule over there.
I poked the dog too many times. Here it comes.
Well, let me go back. I want to ask you a couple of questions about the principles of marketing. Actually, I'll make two questions in one.
Okay.
What's the biggest don't do, and what's the biggest to do?
Okay.
What's the biggest do and the biggest don't?
Okay, let's start with the biggest do, and then I'll tell you about the biggest don't. The biggest do is, and I find this a lot with clients that come before me, they just don't do their research. Okay, and I think you mentioned it earlier, Chris, that it's one thing to have a great idea, but they don't realize that even if they think they have a great idea, they don't know if there's a need for that idea or that product or that service. And they come into us a lot of times and they say, I have this wonderful idea. And the first question I ask is, well, do you think that there's a need? Do you think that, what makes you think someone would want this, would be willing to buy this product? Well, I don't know. I said, well, you have to do your marketing research. You have to go out and talk to people and say, is this something you would use, or is this something that would help you? You can't just, because you think it's a good idea.
Would you pay money for this?
Yeah, absolutely. That everybody else is necessarily going to want it. So the biggest thing I would tell people to do is to do their research. As far as...
Now, real quickly, the research, that could be as simple as, let's say someone has Rich, you like to talk about cupcakes. They have some cupcakes that everybody tells them are extraordinary. How about if they could go down and maybe get a grocery store to allow them to set up out front and give away samples and just take comments from people?
That, and a lot of times they'll even test it on their own family and friends. Now, there's a danger in that, too, because they're going to probably tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But, we'll recommend and say, well, maybe you can put them in a store and see how well they sell, but you do have to test the market. And you can do things like focus groups. I mean, we were big at that at Ford, because we did, we'd bring people in a round table and ask them, what they liked, what they don't like, what can we improve upon? And that's what a lot of our clients don't realize that you really need to do.
You even named a car after that.
The Focus, absolutely.
Focus.
One of our best sellers.
Is that why it was named
I'm going to
Ford?
They're going to love this. I'm doing a pitch for them.
It was named the Focus because of focus groups?
No.
Rich.
No.
Come on now.
Don't listen to him. No.
By the way,
Christopher,
the use of focus groups is now pretty much ubiquitous because politicians use it. All types of businesses use it, and even foundations use focus groups.
Absolutely.
So it's sort of a way you have to test your product out, and that's what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Right, and you were going to say the biggest don't.
The biggest don't is you can't lose patience, and I've seen this with so many clients. They'll try something. They might try a particular marketing strategy, and that doesn't work. Okay, this doesn't work, and then they just sort of let it go. Again, coming from a big company, I have seen so much of this. There's so many things that Ford succeeded at, but there were many things that just didn't work. But you have to keep trying, and you can't give up if the first one or two strategies or the advertising that you might think is going to be excellent doesn't work, or a particular promotion doesn't work. You have to sort of keep reinventing your business strategy or your marketing strategy. But I see a lot of people will come in and this doesn't work, and
so they'll give up on the whole idea.
They give up all. Yeah, absolutely. And then the other thing that we're kind of back to the positive, but I strongly suggest is that they really do a lot of planning. I mean, they really need to do
your
that.
homework.
Absolutely.
Remember the early days?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Obviously, now you see why she is a prime judge for people who are sending in their submissions for the Pitch Fest.
Exactly.
Now, real quickly, we just have a minute or so, but give us a rundown on what the Pitch Fest is. And the Pitch Fest is going to culminate with a Shark Tank-like experience at the Biz Fest.
Absolutely. It's our version of Shark Tank, and it was, and I guess Rich will agree with me, it was probably one of the highlights of our Biz Fest. Yeah, absolutely.
That and speed counseling.
Yeah, and speed counseling, absolutely. And everybody seemed to really enjoy it. I mean, everybody had a lot of fun. The finalists enjoyed it, the audience enjoyed it, the judges enjoyed it, and even all of us that put it together really had a lot of fun doing it. And I have to say, I thought it was a very successful event. Okay. What we do, and if you have I don't know how much time you have, but what we do is we basically ask them to go online. We can go right onto our SCORE website, click on BizFest, and fill out an application. Okay.
And now we had been telling you on prior shows, folks, that the deadline was April the 16th, which is now passed, but because there was sort of a flurry of entries at the end there, they decided to extend it. being tax deadline and the day before and everything. So now the new deadline is
April 25th. That's Saturday, April 25th at midnight. So there's still plenty of time. Get online and get your application in early, though.
Don't wait till the last minute.
Absolutely.
Like last year they did.
Yeah, and it was
we
were flooded at the last minute, and we realized that people are busy, but try to get on there. The application is really just a question and answer format.
Okay, we'll be talking about that a lot more in the next half hour of the show. But you heard Linda talking about marketing and getting your message out and that sort of thing. Well, one of the great ways of doing that, still reliable, still one of the best ways to reach a lot of people in the community is radio. That's why we're doing this show. It is an effective way to get your message into the community. If you want to increase your presence, your presence in the community, your visibility, radio is a great way to go about it, either by advertising on radio or having your very own radio show like this one right here. And the best way to find out about how to do that is to come on over here to the Salem Media Group in Orlando. It's in Altamont Springs. And talk to Bill Files, the station manager. His phone number is 407-618-1760. He'll explain to you how easy it is and how inexpensive it is to advertise on radio. Or perhaps, as I said, have your own radio show. His name, Bill Files. His number, 407-618-1760. And we'll be right back after this short break with more of What's the Score? Okay, welcome back to What's the Score, the show designed to help you come up with that winning combination for your business. I am Christopher Hart, along with Rich Jaeckle. Today in the studio with us is another counselor from SCORE. Her specialty is marketing. Linda Shaheen is her name, and she got a great deal of marketing experience with Ford Motor Company, and she has taken that experience to SCORE and offers it to you. Are you ever one of the operators, like when we called last week and got Lucy, the mod operators?
No, I don't. I'm not. I don't work on the mod desk. I just do strictly counseling, and that was my choice. I sort of have a limited schedule, and I really prefer the one-on-one counseling. And we spend an hour with each client when we see them, and so I do not work on the desk.
Okay. And Linda is also one of the people who are sorting through and sort of sorting out the entries to the Pitch Fest. Now, let me back up a little bit. The Pitch Fest is going to be one of the events at BizFest. And BizFest is going to be your second annual BizFest, right, Rich?
That's correct.
And it's going to be May the 19th. At the Fashion Square Entrepreneur Center. Right. And like you said, it's right between Sears and J.C. Penney. And that day, you'll probably have some signs out for people as they come off of McGuire there.
But guess what else is happening?
What?
You're broadcasting from there.
Duh. Almost forgot about that. Yeah, actually, we're broadcasting. Well, we're going to be doing a remote broadcast of the American Adversaries radio show because Pitch Fest actually falls on a Monday, which is the 19th. It'll start about noon. We will be out there with the table so you folks can come on by and see us, and we can talk about...
we'll be interviewing certain people for the SCORE program when it comes out.
Yep. So certainly if you're out there, didn't go to last year's BizFest, you need to go to this year's BizFest. It's free. All you got to do is show up, and there'll be a lot going on there. There'll be the Pitch Fest. There'll be the speed counseling.
Right.
There'll be 3 seminars going on there that day, so you get really a good taste of what they do at SCORE and everything they have to offer there. As well, there will be a number of business-to-business entrepreneurs there for, if you need a particular service, I'm sure you'll find it there.
And lenders, don't forget lenders.
They will be there as well.
They're going to be financiers and viewing this Pitch Fest thing.
And they're there because they're looking for you. So, you need to go over there looking for them because they're there waiting for you to come see them. So please come on out to BizFest May the 19th, starting at noon at the Fashion Square. It'll go to about 5 or 6?
Probably. Yeah. Well, no 6. Then there's cocktail hour.
There's a networking cocktail reception, and I think that went till about 8 last year. So.
Okay, it did. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you had a cake because it was the 50th.
You and I closed down the beer area. Yeah. John Cheek, Orlando Brewing. Thank you, John.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun. So come on over and join us, and you'll see us do a live. This will be a live radio show, and so you'll be able to see exactly how it all works. Okay, and so that will be the BizFest. So the Pitch Fest is a part of the Biz Fest. And Linda's in charge of, as I said, going through the applications for the Pitch Fest, sorting them out, picking the finalists. Are you the only judge for the finalists?
No. Actually, I'm not going to be a judge this year.
I'm talking about to get to the finalists.
No, I'm not going to be. I have a committee of 6 that are going to do it. I'm going to be sort of the neutral facilitator.
Okay.
I was a judge last year. Now, should somebody, not be able to do it, then I will go in as a judge. But
so 6 score counselors.
6 score
will
counselors
pour over the applications,
and they're looking at them as they come in, because we have a website that they can go on there and actually look at them as they come in. And then,
what are they looking for?
Well, they're looking for, there's about 3 or 4 different criteria that we're looking at. Number 1 is the uniqueness of the business idea. In other words, what gives it its competitive edge, as we like to say in marketing. And we look at the product or service offering, the impact that we think that it will have. We look at how well they describe their target market. And then we look at the overall application. We look for thoroughness and whether, we can understand it. Now, that is a process, and I have to say it's a very laborious process. We spent a whole day doing that. When we get into a room and we powwow, okay? Mm-hmm. And we argue and we, everybody has their say and everybody gives their little opinion. And when you get 6...
Type A personalities
in a room. It's
like
and that's why we decided we needed a facilitator this year, and that's of course going to be me. So when it gets a little too emotional, I can kind of put it back into perspective for everyone.
So they are evaluating a marketing plan for this business.
No, it's almost a whole business plan. As I said, the application, marketing is part of it.
Right.
But they're also asked to give financial information. They're asked to give a description of what problem or service, of what problem this will solve.
In terms of the product or service.
Marketing is one part of it, but it's not the entire thing. It's a condensed business plan.
How many pages?
2.
That's it.
Oh, we left it to 2. Yeah,
guys.
And we did it a little bit differently this year. We put it in the form of a questionnaire. Obviously, they're not just yes or no questions. They have to write. Explain it. And I'll tell you, the ones that we've received so far, they're pretty good. I mean, their explanations are very clear, and they've given us a lot of detail. And that's something that we look for, is a lot of detail.
How does somebody do it?
Get online and submit an application?
Yep.
Okay. You can go to our SCORE website.
ScoreOrlando.org.
Absolutely. There's a BizFest icon up there right on the left-hand side. Click on that. When you get to that, there's a PitchFest icon. It says PitchFest Contest. Click on that. They get to that page. It gives them the qualifications, the contest rules, and then following that, they'll see the questionnaire.
One question I got from one of our listeners was, does this have to be a brand new idea? Or can this be an idea that they've already been working on, maybe out there even selling?
No, yeah, absolutely. Because
tweaked it.
We have what we call emerging businesses.
Okay.
And we define those as people that have been in business 2 years or less.
Okay.
Then we have existing businesses. And they've been in business more than 2 years. So they can have been in business for however long.
You can still be in the Pitch Fest.
Absolutely. And it's, because a lot of times the people that are in existing businesses, and one of the draws, of course, are the cash prizes, is they're looking for some extra funding. They're also looking, more importantly, to showcase their business. It's a great way to do it because, as Rich said, our audience is mostly business people, bankers, lenders, people that maybe they don't always have an easy time getting to. Mm-hmm. Well, but if they come to this and they get 5 minutes to pitch, and they're up and they've got a captive audience right there.
Yeah, our the one that came in first last year, we interviewed.
Yeah, Darren.
3 weeks.
Darren went. Yeah.
No, this is the lady,
Gina.
Oh, with
she was the runner-up. She was the runner-up.
Yeah, she did a nice job too.
She took that money and went to the real
Chicago,
I
think it was.
Shark Tank.
What a great idea. And that's using entrepreneurial skills, imagination.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's important to know, folks, that you don't have to be just starting out or a brand new idea. You can have been in business for quite some time and still be a part of the Pitch Fest. So please go ahead and get your entry in. The deadline hasn't been extended, but it's now April the 25th. So that's coming up Friday. So you have between now and Friday to get that application in. And as Linda said, they made it very easy by, instead of you wondering what format, they basically walk you through it with a question-answer type format. So it's real easy for them to get the information they need from you and for you to give the information you need to give them. So go to scoreorlando.org, look for the BizFest icon, and then take the PitchFest icon, and it'll walk you right through it. So please do get entered into that. You said there's cash prizes?
We have over $6,500 in cash prizes and other prizes to give away. As I said, we had six finalists, and there'll be 3 in each category: new businesses and existing.
Okay.
The first place winners in each category will get a check for $1,500. The second place winners will get a check for $1,000, and the third place winners a check for $750. So everybody that presents will win
at the Pitch Fest.
Absolutely. And then there's other prizes. We're still determining what those are right now, but there's going to be it's a good prize package.
Plus, if they find someone in the audience really likes what they have going on, they may find some investment opportunities from the audience.
And the network, don't forget the networking events, the reception, and just being able to walk around and visit with people.
Sure. Yeah.
That's a real value to them, talking to people that they maybe normally wouldn't have a chance to talk to. And
they form strategic alliances here.
Exactly.
One person has a good service that aligns perfectly with another person. Mm-hmm. They complement each other.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
They get together, and then they...
And so that's going to be, once again, all that's going to be happening at the Biz Fest, culminating, I should say, at the Biz Fest on May the 19th. And but if you want to be a part of the Pitch Fest, you have until the 25th now to get that entry in. And as last year, they kind of trickled in, and then you got a big flood at the end. So
absolutely.
So that's why they've extended the deadline to make sure everybody that wants to get in can get in. When will you announce the finalists from all the applicants that come in by the 25th?
Well, we're still planning on announcing it May 1st. Okay. Because we extended it, we had a little bit of a shorter window to do the judging, but we still believe we can get the announcements out by May 1st, the 6 finalists.
Okay, and you will notify them.
They get notified first, and at the same time, we also go ahead and last year we also gave anybody that entered, we gave them a free score seminar. So I also notified them personally, too. And we had quite a few applicants. We're expecting even more this year.
So nobody's a loser in this?
No, not at all, because we appreciate the fact that they took the time to submit it. And, it's unfortunate that we can only pick 6, because we had a lot of people last year with some great ideas, but we had to narrow it down.
Okay.
Well, they can resubmit this year.
Oh, absolutely. They can, as long as you're not a finalist, as long as you didn't win last year, one of the 6 finalists. Yeah. You can resubmit again, and I've had some people that have resubmitted.
That's great. Cool. Yeah. That's what I like to see. That the stick-to-itiveness, if you will.
Not just that, they could have tweaked the idea. And
that's what I mean.
Yeah, they could have improved it, and it may come off a little bit differently this year.
So you guys out there that did entries last year, come on down.
Yeah, and so please do take advantage of that. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, and definitely take advantage of the Biz Fest in general. And come on out. As I said, you'll be able to meet all of us over there that day. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, I see we have to go ahead and take our final break for the day. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation with Linda Shaheen, and we got a few more questions about the Pitch Fest, and then we got some other things we'll be talking about as well. Don't forget, you are listening to What's the Score, the show designed to help you come up with that winning combination for your business. ScoreOrlando.org is where you can find out all about them and, of course, enter into the contest. That's ScoreOrlando.org. If you'd like to call them over there, call them at 407-420-4844. That's 407-420-4844. But the Entrepreneur Center is located right there in the Fashion Square Mall. Real easy to find. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to What's the Score? We certainly hope you've been enjoying today's show. Once again, if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, send them to us at score@nationalec.org. That's score@nationalec.org. Rich?
Yeah. Also, if they'd like to hear a different topic, or they have a different potential guest that they'd like to hear, more about this service or that idea or something, submit it to us, and we can get them on board here.
Or if you, I don't mean you, Rich, or if you, the listener out there, if you want to be on the show, if you think that this is someplace that you need to be, certainly you need to get a hold of SCORE and become a part of what's going on over there, and we'll get you on the air.
Yeah, if you've got something to contribute to small business and entrepreneurs in Central Florida, we'd be happy to get you on the show.
407-420-4844 is the number for SCORE. You can certainly reach Rich via that number, 407-420-4844. Before we get back to our today's guest, Linda Shaheen, who's a counselor at SCORE, we're talking about Pitch Fest. Who's coming up next week? Or what do we got?
We got
in the stable there?
We've got a bunch of repeats, and I'm wondering whether we want some follow-up like the Small Business Administration. You think it's timely for him? They've got new programs out now in Central Florida.
Yeah, we can do something like that.
One involves strictly women. It's called Innovate Her. And it's an entire thing.
That's a provocative title, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, I mean, wait a minute. It's like Innovator. Innovate Her.
Okay.
That is the name of it, though.
Kill me. I'm just
it is. I wasn't thinking along those lines, but that is the name of it.
Oh, I know. Well,
Innovator.
I won't even go there.
Okay, forget that guest.
We got a lot of great guests coming up.
Yeah, we have Martin Tier, the Psychology of Business.
Yeah, he's coming back. Yeah, we got a lot of great compliments about that show and some questions.
Import-export guy coming back.
Oh, yeah, we got a lot of questions about that, too.
With the new laws that have come out.
Yeah, we got a number of questions after his appearance on the show.
Okay, so we'll next innovate her.
All right, so let's get back to Linda Shaheen. Once again, she's a counselor. Her specialty is marketing. She worked for a number of years at Ford Motor Company in the corporate marketing level. So I guess you've seen the marketing business, if you will, change quite a bit over the years, has it not?
Oh, absolutely.
With the influence of the web and internet and all that?
Yeah. In fact, when I retired in 2002, we were just getting into using web-based marketing. And since I left, I had lunch, in fact, with a colleague of mine yesterday at Ford that I haven't seen in a while, and we were talking, and we said, if they invited us back to work, which they wouldn't, obviously, but we would be lost. I mean, I still follow the auto industry very closely. I subscribe to Automotive News. I subscribe to the Detroit newspapers because I like to stay up, with what's going on. And I read a lot of the articles in there with marketing and, all of the things. Well, a lot of them we're doing that at SCORE, the social media and the interactive marketing. And we didn't do any of that. We did basically advertising, radio advertising, TV advertising, newspaper advertising, and even at the dealer level. Dealers relied a lot on newspaper advertising.
They still do run radio, don't they?
Well, they do on radio and TV. A lot of them do, but if you read, when they set their budgets, less and less, and it's probably not good for radio, but more and more is going to social media. They still do, radio and TV, but they spend a lot of time on social media, and that's because when you work, it's like any business. They're always after that next generation, the millennials, and these kids grew up with computers. I mean, they know more about computers than I'll probably ever know. And how they reach this generation is through social media.
Humbug. Humbug, I say. I do not agree with this.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't know how much this generation listens to TV and radio, but I know that they're getting their information in a much different way than we probably did.
Right. Yes, but talk radio is becoming one of the most popular, according to you and your statistics there, Chris.
Well, according to Nielsen, this was at the end of last year, news talk radio is still the most listened to radio format in the country. And radio is still the first go-to, if you will, for people's first blush at the news.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of people still rely on it.
I did not know that either.
No,
yeah, well, it's relative, obviously, to all radio listeners. News talk radio is the most listened to radio format. Country music second. But the listener demographic is changing. There's no question about that. And certainly radio is working hard to try to get the millennials And going with, of course, every radio station now you can listen to over the internet, and more millennials find it that way rather than through on the dial in their car. You know, a lot of millennials aren't buying cars.
That's true. That's absolutely
they're just not living at all the way we grew up to live. I mean, when I was 15, we couldn't wait to get to be 16 and have a car.
A lot of them don't even get driver's licenses anymore.
Yeah, until they get to college or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's different modes of transportation. Yeah. There's Uber, and they can get online and get transportation.
But when they do, then they get exposed to radio and, of course, the TV. So, yeah, I mean, the big advertisers still use the old formats, so to speak, but they also are more and more using the new formats. And so it's a both and kind of thing. You got to kind of do both, or you will be left out.
Okay, I had a client come in last week, which relates exactly to this. And it was a young guy, and he came in, and he was he was creating a bookstore that had the old classic books in it, with the hardbound and the spines and everything else. I said, look, what are you doing here? You know, you've got a Kindle. You're the age of all this black and white stuff here. All you got to do is whip it out. And he said, no, we're sick and tired of that. We want some class. Honest to God, he said, we want some class. Yeah. My father had hardbound books that when he read, he was proud of them, and he put them on the shelf. You know what we got? Nothing. We got a Kindle where it goes away into cyberspace.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it goes along with I think these guys are going to start being aware that personal contact.
Yeah, as people get older and mature more, they find that the finer things in life sometimes are the older things, you know, that we...
That's why I'm so popular.
But nonetheless, radio is not going anywhere. It will be a medium that will be used in perpetuity. How you get it may be changing, but radio will not go anywhere. People want radio. They like that form of communication, in particular radio, because you can do it by yourself. And you can feel like you're there with somebody else. And that's part of what makes talk radio work, is that we're actually making a one-on-one connection with the listener. Most of our listeners are listening to us by themselves, either in their car or at home or at work.
And they like the entertainment value, too. Not that we offer any, but there is.
They like
entertainment value.
I like to use the word stimulation. They like that brain working. You see, and talk radio helps your brain to work. Even music radio, it sort of focuses you and takes you away from where you are, so to speak, or enhances where you are. And so it will always be there. There will always be a need for it. And I predict that it will always come across the airwaves as well. If for no other reason,
down, Linda. Predicted that. On
this
absolutely.
If for no other reason that it will be a great emergency broadcast system. Not to steal the name from the emergency broadcasting system, but in times of emergency, it is one of the most reliable forms of communication. It would be one of the easiest to bring back online, so to speak. Everybody can. All you need some batteries and a radio, and you're tuned in.
Yeah. Well, guess what? We're going to be on radio. And it's going to be at Pitch Fest, which
that's
is
right. All right,
a show today.
So to get back to Pitch Fest, real quickly, folks, they're still taking applications. You can be either a new up-and-coming business or an established business. Absolutely. What were the two categories again?
We called them emerging businesses, which is a fancier name for a new business, and an existing business.
Okay. So and they're looking for 3 finalists. They're going to pick 3 finalists in each category. They will all present at the Biz Fest, in what the event's called the Pitch Fest, a Shark Tank-like experience. Right. Now, the finalists, will they be getting with someone with score beforehand, kind of like they do in American Idol, to get a little coaching or something like that?
Really? Coach?
No, we don't really coach them. I worked with them last year on just sort of prepping them a little bit and what to expect. But we pretty much leave them. I mean, a lot of these people, they know their business very well. They know it better than any of us do. And they're good at public speaking. They don't have any qualms about doing that. And so we pretty much leave it up to them, other than giving them some of the contest rules and how the format is going to work.
Real quickly, we're running out of time, and I'll let you have the last question, Rich. Who won last year? Now, we had Darren on the show. Once again, what was his business?
Darren was the one that I believe, and you're probably going to trick me a little bit here, he was the one that brought it had to do with elderly people and trying to find assistance for elderly
home
people.
Care, yeah, exactly.
Home care assistance.
It became basically an agency to help people who need home care to find that particular person that was best suited for them at a good rate.
Right.
So, it doesn't have to be a little gadget or something.
No, it can be a service.
Exactly.
Right.
So
Or they can tweak an old service.
Absolutely. And that's, again, the creativity that we look for. I mean, it can be something that's been out there for a while, but they have a different spin on it, or they've done something different with it.
All right, Rich, you have last question.
I have one last question for you. Isn't the whole functionality of this Pitch Fest is to see how good they can deliver the message of their product or service?
Absolutely.
Without being prepped by other people.
Right.
They have to be able to present that to anybody on a moment's notice.
Right. And the key is to contain it within 5 minutes. And we adhere to that 5 minute limit.
Right.
Because
hence, there's no coaching.
No, there isn't. All I tell them is 5 minutes, and we're going to give you the high sign, and when the 5 minutes is up, and then that's followed by 3 minutes of questioning.
Right. All right. Speaking of time being up, our time is up for today. It's been a fascinating conversation. Good luck to you folks who have already entered their idea into the Pitch Fest, and for those of you who haven't, you have now until Friday, April the 25th, to get those ideas in. Just go to scoreorlando.org, look for the BizFest icon, take it to the Pitch Fest icon, take it to the application, and it just walks you through it in a question-answer type format. Real easy to do. There's no application fee, so all you have to do is go there and get in on this, and they'll let you know if you're one of the 6 finalists, and then you'll be at the BizFest. Even if you don't become one of the finalists, come on out to the BizFest anyway. We want to meet you.
Absolutely. We want to see you there.
The networking, the FaceTime.
That's right. And don't forget, we'll be there doing a live remote broadcast that day. Pitch Fest, BizFest, all happens May the 19th at the